So Nitanshi, you have always been into the business roles right from day one, right? And business involves combination of different functions, and the primary functions that come to mind are marketing and sales. So a synergy between marketing and sales becomes very essential, right? And I'm sure you would have experienced that several times. Uh, Sometimes there is great alignment, and sometimes there is friction which takes over. So if you could share some of the illustrations where you came across these type of experiences, and how do you dealt with them?
Yeah, so it's a very interesting topic to say because in my all the enterprises or companies where I've worked, while I've not found that there's not like a cat fight or something between marketing and sales, but I always feel that there is still a slight tussle which is there between the teams, and the interesting part is that these teams have a very symbiotic relationship in the sense that one cannot function without the other, right? Marketing, if it is giving generating leads or creating buzz in the market, it is of no use if sales is not going to follow up. And at the same time, if sales is going to go into the market and talk to people, but if nobody knows your brands, then it is you are kind of at a very disadvantage, quite a big disadvantage. And then there are other obviously benefits of marketing. But I feel it's not about it's not about the role which these teams have, which is quite in conjunction with each other, but it's more about people in there. So I think the important part which has to come from leadership and flow in is that one cannot be more important than the other, and somewhere in the org structure you have to structure it in a way where the importance is realized through this structure, right? And that doesn't come at times, unfortunately. So for example, one disadvantage with many marketers today feel, especially in large organizations, is that you have no connect with customer, right? But the salesperson has. So once that is a huge disadvantage, because you are creating content for the customer, you are running campaigns for the customer, but you have never spoken to a customer. You don't even know what they're thinking about, what their pain points are. Sometimes we have these sales meets which are there, in which even marketing is invited, where this brainstorming happens, yearly planning happens, where marketing does get a glimpse of it, but still it is way far from what and exactly a salesperson goes through once they meet this customer. So I think it is important to bring alignment, and I think the equalizer can be data here, right? If you have good data and communication between the two teams, this break point which happens between the two teams, or the tussle which happens as to who is more important or who would get the attribution, all those questions would be a little less when these grounds are laid better. So it can be laid better with data. So when if marketing is giving better information about like one of the things which I've seen is that you send out a lot of MQLs or leads, but the sales doesn't know exactly, what this person came for, what this person did, what activity was done by this person. And that is kind of, how do you expect the salesperson to follow? Right. So that there is a data breakage point, and we expect them to take action within, next 24 hours because it's a hot lead, and then you have to reach out to them. But doesn't happen because the salesperson is just lost as to what I should talk to this person. So that's one breakage point. Second is when sales is having all these conversations, right? It might be through an email, it might be an in-person meeting or over a phone. Who is logging this data of conversations, right? There are a lot of tech today available which can log this data and can create messaging even for marketing, but marketing is not looking into it. So that data needs to be passed back into marketing. This feedback needs to be passed back so that it is implemented into marketing as well, because ultimately these sales or marketing, they have to listen to customer, and if that culture is inculcated, and I think this problem gets solved much better.
Absolutely. In fact, I was reading one article by McKinsey, which harps on a very common saying that marketing should have a seat at the table, and it follows up with a phrase that, but it should not be the lunch. So it is very
That's
interesting, right?
right. Yes.
So you mentioned about the executive part, right? It is very important that they are setting the org very clearly and very appropriately so that the friction should be there, but it should not come to a point where there's a breakage. So
Yes.
how do you see the role of CXOs in this whole equation of setting up this full funnel marketing come sales cycle?
Yeah, so I think it's about having both of them as seat on the table, right? So the question of seat on the table. So what happens sometimes is that, most places what I've seen is, because obviously sales is the driving force, they get the dollars and the business comes from them. So what happens is at times you see that lot of connect the leadership is mostly connected with sales. They are connected with
Hmm.
marketing, but at a very top level, right? What
Periodic
is
level.
that? Periodic level, right? Okay, I will have a operating review, I'll have a strategic review, those kind of things. So that happens from time to time, right? But it is not at the ground level. Whereas with sales, most leadership is connected to even at a ground level. I'm talking mostly from a business, large business point of view, not B2C particularly, but mostly that happens. So in this, what happens is that while you do know what's happening in marketing, you have a larger picture, but you don't have the ground reality in place. So to gel both sales and marketing, that view is missing, right? And it cannot be on the, and these things can't be viewed from a dashboard. So I feel that the leadership has to get inside and be well known both with sales and marketing. First, that is very important. Second, as I said, communication is important. So communication coming from what comes from top down is very important, because sometimes there is sales priorities and marketing priorities do not match, right? And that is because that has not come from top down, right? So the top down approach of having similar objectives between marketing and sales becomes very, very important, and communication plays a very important role. Whenever there is a shift, you have to take marketing and sales both in conjunction together. Those their objectives cannot be different, because then it would clearly lead to a lot of tussle between the teams. So yeah, I think it is knowing the teams better, because they are very crucial teams. They take your brand to the customer, whether it is through marketing campaign or through the sales and sales. So it is very important that these two teams are well aligned with the senior leadership, and at the same time, communication between from top down leadership in terms of objective, and even in fact 360 degree, even backwards also, like the
Hmm.
feedback what they're getting goes back to leadership, is equally important, I feel.
So yeah, that's a very valid point. We talked about sales kickoff and annual sales meeting and all. Obviously, the strategy is made at the start of the year, but as the year progresses, you see that there are changes coming to the strategy and there are
Yes.
pivots happening, right? Because you are seeing that market is moving somewhere else, so we need to change our approach. And then it needs to trickle down till marketing level, sales level together, figuring out
Yes.
how do we shorten this go-to-market time with the new approach. So
Yes.
yeah, this is where CXOs driving everything as a central point becomes very important. Another thing that relates to this topic, Nitanshi, is the attribution part, right?
Yes.
Because obviously marketing brings the lead and they bring the MQL. Obviously, some go through SQL and conversion funnel, and some drop off at different stages. Uh, and in today's digital world, right, the business goes through the funnel together. So it's not that marketing just brought the lead and then their job is over and the next arrowhead is sales. Instead, the arrow is now reversed, where both the things are running together till closing point, right?
Yes.
So what has your experience been when it comes to designing the right attribution, which is rewarding for both marketing and sales?
Yeah. So see, I feel that when it comes to the attribution modeling, and when we talk about data in such cases, if you have good data and you
Hmm.
are kind of accurately touching or recording every touch point at the
Hmm.
right time with the right details, then this kind of issues don't arise as much as I'm not saying it would go to 0%, but the quantity of such issues arising would be much lesser. Why? Because you have all your customer journey mapped properly. You have every touch point mapped properly. And then it is important when we talk about alignment, it's important to understand that at what percentage we will give, right? Because end conversations mostly happens with sales. They are the converting point, right? So many times what happens is the marketing doesn't get that right kind of attribution because the last touch point. So if you run your models based on your last touch point and say that, everything was given to converted by sales, obviously it would be converted by sales. But when we say that, and if marketing starts saying, the lead was, I got the lead, and if I take it as a first touch point, then it has also gone equally because everything will go to marketing. So that there are a lot of models today, and a lot of, in fact, systems today to kind of deal with this kind of ambiguity should not arise. You have these systems, and you have CDPs, and you have other places. Attribution modeling tech is also there. We also use one for ourselves also, which helps us to say, okay, my first touch would get this percentage and I would kind of attribute it to marketing. But when it comes to, I will give 30% attribution to sales for every lead that they convert. But every touch point would get some amount of attribution. So that kind of solves the problem. If you leave it to people to kind of give attribution, then it will create, definitely there would be, discrepancies which will creep in. Marketing would say it is ours, and then sales would say this is ours. It is difficult to give away, and everybody understands it's their labor, right? So they will say that it is mine. But I think it is more about attribution modeling has to be left to data and let the data speak for itself. All you have to do is have a good alignment between the teams to say, okay, we agree on this particular model where my first touch or my marketing, if marketing has generated a lead, this is the percentage we would assign to them, and then go on do the same for the sales as well. So be very wary of what you are offering at what touch point, but let the data speak for itself rather than people.
Yeah, absolutely. The right use of data can actually bring people together in this entire journey, right? And it's a long journey, right? If you talk about B2B, it runs into months. It's not like weeks or days.
Yes,
So
absolutely.